Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and I'm looking at a book from Oxford University Press. It's a book by Richard Susskind called The End of Lawyers. It's this book here. It's Rethinking the Nature of Legal Services. This is in the next decade of the century. This is the revised paperback version. My wife and I wrote a version of the original hardback book called Warning, Warning, the End is Nigh. Basically talking about what Mr. Susskind was putting forward at that time. Since then he's written an additional introduction called the Introduction to the Paperback Edition, really following the general election in May 2010 and the recession that we've got, and he looks specifically at what he calls 4 particular subjects, and I've given it the title Targets, Doughnuts, Glazed Doughnuts and COGS, the legal choices for the future. And he's done it in diagrammatic form. There's the target, there's the donut, then we've got the glazed donut, which is there, and finally the interesting one, the cog. And the cog, in fact, is the machinery which we're talking about, which will bring it all together. That's the expert trusted advisor, the enhanced practitioner, process managers and routine workers, all within the production of legal services for the future. It's a detailed book, as you can see. It's heavy on detail, and it's got a lot of interesting stuff, including stuff like courtroom technology, which I was particularly drawn to. Then at the back there's a detailed index bibliography, and then an index right at the back. Now the book is quite a light one. It's running now to about 300 pages. It's an interesting book. I will mention a little bit about what we said of this book initially, because in our original review we said warning, warning, the end is nigh, and we were reminded of what Tony Blair had done with asking Frank Field to think the unthinkable. We're very much in new territory with the coalition government. Susskind, in my view, has laid down the challenge for all of us for the provision of legal services within the profession in the next decade. He's been thinking the unthinkable in many ways, and the journey that he takes, in my view, has brought in a very new way of thinking about the provision of services, and that's all really bound up with what happened in May 2010, with the change of direction that this country was taking as a result of a creation of a coalition government and the end of New Labour. And obviously we see the decade as a decade of change as IT takes over, and that has been very much what Susskind has been talking about in the book. Obviously he had an earlier book called The Future of Law as a sort of forerunner of this, but he's done a lot of work on it. It does present a bit of a scary future, but in our view, in the 8 major chapters that he's got in the paperback version, he draws a lot of his experience from the consulting work that he's done, and he says that the basic road that he's gone down is driven by a number of factors, by market pull towards the commoditization of legal services, and by the pervasive development and uptake of new and disruptive legal technologies. Obviously at stake are our jobs. The problems he sees are the same problems really for very many other people, and that's the need for a constructive approach. And what he's done is he's put forward a number of views. We feel, and we still maintain that Susskind has made an excellent start by opening up the debate, and certainly from the comments on the back he's been very successful. He talks about motive as well, which I think is an important factor to bear in mind, because we're at the beginning of a new structure for legal services. Certainly the bar, which I belong to, is going through a massive amount of change and consultation. Likewise, the same thing is happening with the Law Society. Our view is that Suskind's rethink must be positive, because as a newly famous American said, not quite so new now, President Obama, yes we can. And the answer is yes, we can do these things, but we've got to have the right ingredients and the right approach to it. We think we can do so. Certainly Susskind paints a bit of a difficult picture, but we think we can get there. So there will be no end for lawyers, just in case you think that that's a final statement. It's just a new beginning in our view, because obviously the postponement is basically indefinite. because the new tools and techniques have arrived on the scene now, and we have these targets, these doughnuts, the glazed doughnuts and the COGS, which all explain the modern thinking in a rather abstruse way. Anyway, thank you to Richard Susskind for this update. Do read the book and you'll see what we mean. Thank you very much. Bye bye.